A birthday. A rejected girl. One father's split-second choice that changes 3 lives forever. On a packed Saturday morning in Portland, 23-year-old Riley Knox, amputee, alone, and barely holding herself together, walks table to table in the cafe where her family used to celebrate every weekend. Every single person turns her away. Until single dad Caleb Turner looks up from his chattering 6-year-old daughter and sees something in Riley's eyes that breaks his heart wide open. He says one word, yes. What happens next will prove that sometimes the smallest act of kindness doesn't just save a life. It builds a family from scratch. If you believe in the power of compassion, stay with me until the very end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Now, let me take you back to that Saturday morning, the day everything changed. The rain had finally stopped. After 6 straight days of Portland's signature gray drizzle, the morning sun broke through the clouds like a promise the city had forgotten how to keep. By 10 o'clock, the sidewalks were crowded with people who'd been cooped up too long. Joggers, dog walkers, families with strollers, couples holding hands. Everyone seemed determined to soak up every possible second of vitamin D before the northwest gloom rolled back in. The cafe on Morrison Street was packed wall to wall. Caleb Turner stood in line with his daughter's small hand tucked firmly in his, watching the Saturday morning chaos unfold with the practiced patience of a man who'd learned long ago that rushing through moments with Maisie only meant missing them entirely. The line snaked out the door. Every table was claimed. People hunched over laptops with oversized headphones. Couples leaned close over shared pastries. Groups of friends laughed too loudly over iced lattes.
"Daddy, I want the chocolate croissant," Maisie announced, tugging his sleeve. "The really big one, with the sparkly sugar on top." Caleb glanced down at his daughter, 6 years old, gap-toothed, wearing her favorite purple leggings and a shirt that proclaimed "Unicorns are real" in glittery letters, and felt that familiar squeeze in his chest. The one that said, "This is it. This is everything." "The really big one, huh?" He raised an eyebrow. "What happened to the blueberry muffin you were dying for last week?" "That was last week, Daddy." Maisie rolled her eyes with the full dramatic weight of her entire 6 years of existence. "I'm more sophisticated now." "Sophisticated?" Caleb bit back a grin. "Is that your new word from Ms. Peterson?" "Uh-huh. It means fancy and smart and knowing what you like." Maisie stood on her tiptoes, trying to see over the bakery case. "And I like chocolate." "Fair enough, kiddo." They shuffled forward in line.
Caleb did a quick mental scan of the cafe, already knowing what he'd find. 0 open tables. They'd have to take their order to go, head to the park, maybe hit the playground if it wasn't too muddy. Not the worst Saturday plan, but Maisie had been so excited about having coffee with him, her definition of which involved an apple juice box and whatever pastry caught her eye, that he hated to disappoint her. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Caleb barely registered the voice. Someone asking the table next to them, probably getting the same polite brush-off everyone else had gotten for the past 20 minutes. "Sorry, my friend's coming back." "Excuse me, would you mind if We're actually leaving soon." "Hi, I don't mean to bother you, but we need all 4 chairs. Sorry." The voice kept moving, kept asking, each response a little colder than the last. Caleb was about to place their order when Maisie suddenly yanked on his arm, hard enough that he looked down. "Daddy," she whispered, her dark eyes wide. "That girl is sad." "What girl, honey?" "The one asking for a seat. Look." Caleb turned. That's when he saw her. A young woman, early 20s maybe, with honey brown hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, standing near the table 2 spots over from where they'd eventually sit if they could find anywhere to sit. She wore jeans and a faded gray hoodie, and she leaned on forearm crutches with the kind of exhausted determination that told Caleb she'd been standing far longer than was comfortable. Her left leg ended just below the knee, a prosthetic visible where her jeans hitched up slightly. But it was her face that hit him like a freight train. She was trying so hard to hold it together. Her jaw was set. Her shoulders were squared. But her eyes, Jesus, her eyes, were the eyes of someone who'd walked into this cafe expecting something and was slowly, painfully realizing she wasn't going to get it. "Do you mind if I share this table?"
she asked an older couple near the window, her voice steady but thin. I'll be quick. I just need... Sorry, sweetie, the woman said, not unkindly, but with the firmness of someone who'd already decided. We're waiting for our daughter. She'll be here any minute. The young woman nodded, swallowed hard, adjusted her grip on the crutches, and started toward the next table. Daddy? Maisie tugged again, harder this time. We have to help her. We don't have a table yet, Maise. But when we get one, if we get one. Maisie's face crumpled into her trademark disappointed look, the one that could guilt a stone into apologizing. But she needs one. Look at her, Daddy. She's trying so hard. Caleb looked. The young woman had reached a table near the back, two guys in their 20s with laptops and expensive sneakers. She asked her question. One of them glanced up, shook his head without even pausing his typing, and went right back to his screen. The young woman stood there for a beat longer than she should have. Then she turned away. Caleb made a decision. Come on, he said, taking Maisie's hand and stepping out of line. Where are we going? To do the right thing. He guided Maisie through the maze of tables and chairs, past the couple with the stroller and the group of college kids debating philosophy, until they reached a small two-person table shoved in the corner near the bathroom hallway. It wasn't great. The chair wobbled, and you could hear every flush, but it was open, and it was theirs if they moved fast. Caleb pulled out one of the chairs for Maisie, grabbed a third from a nearby stack that someone had abandoned, and sat down just as the young woman approached another table on the far side of the room. Excuse me, she was saying, her voice quieter now. I'm sorry to bother you. Is there any way I could... Not today, the guy said, without looking up from his phone. The young woman stopped. Her shoulders sagged. Caleb saw it happen in real time, the exact moment she decided to give up. She turned toward the door. Hey! Maisie's voice rang out, clear and bright and impossibly loud in the crowded cafe. You can sit with us! Every head in a 10-foot radius swiveled. The young woman froze. Caleb felt his face flush. Maisie had gotten her volume control from her mother, which was to say she had none. But he met the young woman's startled gaze and nodded toward the empty chair at their tiny, wobbly corner table. She's right, he said, keeping his voice calm and warm. You're welcome to join us. For a long, terrible second, the young woman didn't move. She just stared at them, at Caleb, at Maisie, at the empty chair, like she couldn't quite believe what she was hearing. Then her face did something complicated. Her mouth trembled. Her eyes went bright and shiny. She blinked fast, twice, and pressed her lips together hard. Are you sure? Her voice cracked on the last word. Absolutely, Caleb said. We've got plenty of room. That was a lie. They had almost no room, but Maisie was already scooting her chair over to make space, and Caleb was pulling the empty chair out, and the young woman was moving toward them with an expression that looked like relief and disbelief, and something dangerously close to breaking. She made it to the table, set her crutches carefully against the wall, lowered herself into the chair with the kind of deliberate control that came from months, maybe years, of practice. And then she looked up at them with eyes full of unshed tears and said, very quietly, Thank you. Maisie beamed. You're welcome. I'm Maisie. This is my dad. His name is Caleb, but I call him Daddy. What's your name? Riley. The young woman's voice was steadier now, but barely. My name's Riley. That's a nice name. Are you here for breakfast? We're having chocolate croissants. Daddy says I can have a really big one because I'm sophist fancy. Despite everything, Riley smiled. It was a small smile, fragile and tentative, but it was real. Chocolate croissants sound perfect. Caleb cleared his throat. Can I get you something? Coffee? Food? It's on me. Riley shook her head quickly. No, I'm fine, really. I just needed... She trailed off, looking around the cafe like she was seeing it for the first time. I just needed to sit here for a little while. Something in the way she said it made Caleb's chest tighten. Not sit. Sit here. This wasn't about finding any table. This was about finding this table, or at least this cafe. Well, Caleb said carefully, you're welcome to sit as long as you need. Riley's eyes met his, and in that moment, Caleb saw something he recognized,
Something he'd seen in his own mirror 2 years ago, right after Ava had walked out and left him holding a 4-year-old who kept asking when Mommy was coming home. He saw someone hanging on by a thread. "Thank you," Riley whispered. Maisie, bless her oblivious 6-year-old heart, had already moved on. "Do you like unicorns? I love unicorns. Daddy says they're not real, but I think he's wrong. Do you think unicorns are real?" Riley blinked, looked down at Maisie's glittery shirt, and despite the tears still clinging to her lashes, she laughed, a soft, startled sound that seemed to surprise her as much as it surprised Caleb. "I think," Riley said slowly, "that unicorns are definitely real. They're just really good at hiding. See?" Maisie spun toward Caleb with the vindicated energy of someone who just won a years-long debate. "I told you, Daddy." Caleb raised his hands in surrender. Okay, I stand corrected. And unicorns are real and excellent at hiding. Got it." Maisie nodded, satisfied, and turned back to Riley. "Are you having a good day?" The question was so innocent, so earnest, that Caleb saw Riley's composure wobble. Riley's voice caught. She looked down at her hands, folded tightly in her lap. "I'm trying." "That's good," Maisie announced. "Daddy says trying is the most important part. Even if you don't win, you still tried, and that's really brave." Riley's eyes went shiny again. "Your dad's right," she said softly. Caleb stood. "I'm going to grab our order." "Riley, are you sure I can't get you something, even just a water?" Riley hesitated. "Coffee would be, that would be really nice. Black is fine." "You got it." Caleb wove back through the crowd toward the counter, his mind racing. He didn't know this girl, this woman, he corrected himself, because she was clearly an adult even if she looked heartbreakingly young, but every instinct he had was screaming that something was deeply, desperately wrong. And Maisie, in her infinite 6-year-old wisdom, had somehow zeroed in on it immediately. He ordered 2 coffees, Maisie's apple juice, the chocolate croissant, and on impulse, a blueberry muffin and a cinnamon roll. If Riley was hungry, she'd have options. If not, he'd eat the extras. God knew he stress ate enough these days. When he got back to the table, Maisie was in full chatter mode, telling Riley about her school and her teacher and her best friend Emma, who had a dog named Pickles. And Pickles is so cute, but he eats everything. Emma says he ate her mom's shoe once, and her mom was really mad, but Emma thought it was funny because the shoe was ugly anyway. Riley was listening with the kind of focus that told Caleb she was genuinely engaged, not just humoring a chatty kid. "Sounds like Pickles has strong opinions about fashion," Riley said. Maisie giggled. "That's what Emma said." Caleb set the coffees down, slid the pastries into the middle of the table, and sat back down. "Okay, we've got chocolate croissant for the sophisticated lady, blueberry muffin and cinnamon roll for the table to share, and terrible drip coffee for the adults." Riley picked up her cup with both hands, like she needed the warmth. "Thank you. Really, you didn't have to. It's just coffee," Caleb said gently. "No big deal." But Riley's eyes said it was a big deal. Maisie grabbed the chocolate croissant with both hands, took an enormous bite, and promptly got powdered sugar all over her face. Riley laughed, a real laugh this time, unguarded and surprised. "You've got a little something," Riley gestured vaguely at her own face. Maisie grinned, revealing chocolate-covered teeth. "I know, it's part of the experience." "Can't argue with that logic," Caleb said, handing her a napkin anyway. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. The cafe buzzed around them, orders being called out, the hiss of the espresso machine, laughter and conversation blending into a low hum. Outside, the sun was climbing higher, pouring golden light through the front windows. It should have been a perfect Saturday morning, but Caleb couldn't shake the feeling that Riley was barely holding on. "So," he said carefully, "do you come here often?" It was a terrible line, something you'd say at a bar, not a cafe, but Riley didn't seem to notice. "I used to," she said quietly, "a long time ago." "It's a good spot. Maisie and I come here most Saturdays. Well, when the weather's decent and I can bribe her out of bed before noon." "I don't need bribing," Maisie protested through a mouthful of croissant. "I love Saturdays." Riley smiled. "Saturdays are good." "Are you from Portland?" Caleb asked. Riley nodded. "Born and raised. You?" "Moved here 5 years ago for work. Stayed for..."
He glanced at Maisie, who was now attempting to see how much of the croissant she could fit in her mouth at once. Well, for her, what do you do? I'm an architect. Residential mostly. Design custom homes for people with more money than sense. He said it lightly, but Riley caught the edge of something underneath. You don't like it? Caleb shrugged. I like the work. The clients can be, challenging. But it pays the bills and lets me set my own hours, which matters when you've got a 6-year-old who thinks bedtime is a negotiation. It is a negotiation, Maisie interjected. And I'm very good at it. Riley laughed again. I bet you are. What about you? Caleb asked. What do you do? The question hung in the air a beat too long. Riley looked down at her coffee. I'm between things right now.
Figuring stuff out. There was a story there, a big one. But Caleb knew better than to push. That's fair, he said. Figuring stuff out is underrated. Riley glanced up at him, surprised. I mean it, Caleb said. Everyone's always in such a hurry to have everything figured out. Sometimes it's okay to just exist for a while. Daddy's really good at existing, Maisie offered helpfully. Sometimes he just stares at the ceiling for like a million hours. That's called thinking, Maze. It looks like existing. Riley's smile was soft. She's got you there. She usually does. They fell into silence again. Maisie finished her croissant, declared herself full forever, and immediately asked if she could have the cinnamon roll. Caleb slid it over with the resigned acceptance of a man who'd learned long ago that full forever meant approximately 7 minutes in 6-year-old time. Riley sipped her coffee slowly, her gaze drifting around the cafe, and Caleb watched her watch the room. She wasn't looking at people. She was looking at the space, the tables, the counter, the big chalkboard menu on the wall, the mismatched chairs, the string lights hanging from the ceiling, like she was cataloging every detail, like she was trying to commit it all to memory, or like she was visiting a grave. Riley, Caleb said quietly. She blinked and turned back to him. Are you okay? It was a simple question, probably too simple, but Riley's face crumpled just slightly, just enough. She stopped, swallowed, tried again. Can I tell you something? Of course. Riley set her coffee down, folded her hands in her lap, took a slow, shaky breath. Today's my birthday. Maisie's head shot up. It's your birthday? Why didn't you say so? Riley's laugh was wet. I guess I forgot. You can't forget your birthday. Maisie looked horrified. That's the best day. It used to be, Riley said softly. Caleb felt his chest tighten. Used to be. Maisie, still blissfully unaware of the weight in the air, bounced in her seat. We have to sing. Daddy, we have to sing happy birthday. Maze, maybe Riley doesn't. No, we have to. It's the rule. Riley's eyes were bright again. You really don't have to. But Maisie was already standing on her chair, cupping her hands around her mouth like a megaphone, and belting out at top volume. Happy birthday to you! Every head in the cafe turned. Caleb felt his face go red. Maisie, happy birthday to you! A few people smiled. One guy near the counter started clapping along. Happy birthday, dear Riley! And then, because this was Portland and people were generally good-hearted weirdos, half the cafe joined in. Happy birthday to you! The song swelled off-key and chaotic and absolutely perfect. People clapped. Someone whooped. The barista leaned over the counter with a grin. Riley sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. When the song ended, the cafe erupted into applause. Maisie took a bow, and Riley covered her face with both hands and sobbed. Caleb's heart dropped. Riley, I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry. I didn't think. Hey, it's okay. Caleb reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers. You don't have to apologize. I do. I'm ruining your morning. You're not ruining anything. Maisie climbed down from her chair, walked around the table, and without hesitation wrapped her small arms around Riley's shoulders. Don't be sad, she whispered. Birthdays are supposed to be happy. Riley let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. I know, sweetie, I know. Then why are you crying? Riley pulled back just enough to look at Maisie. Because sometimes happy things make you cry too. Maisie considered this with the gravity of a philosopher. That's weird. Yeah, Riley agreed, wiping her face. It really is. Caleb stood. I'll be right back. He went to the counter, caught the barista's eye, and said quietly, Do you have any cake? The barista, a college-aged kid with blue hair and a nose ring, grinned. For the birthday girl? Yeah. Say no more. 2 minutes later, Caleb returned to the table with a small slice of lemon cake, a single candle stuck in the top, and a lighter borrowed from the guy at the next table who apparently carried one despite not smoking because you never know when you'll need fire. Riley stared at the cake. You didn't have to do this, she whispered. I know, Caleb said, but Maisie's right. Birthdays need cake. It's the rule. He lit the candle. The tiny flame flickered in the draft from the door. Make a wish, Maisie urged. Riley looked at the candle, at Maisie, at Caleb, and then she closed her eyes. Caleb didn't know what she wished for, but he saw her lips move just slightly, like she was saying something to someone who wasn't there. Then she opened her eyes and blew out the candle. The cafe erupted again. More applause, more whooping, someone yelling, Yeah, Riley, even though they'd never met her. Riley laughed through her tears. Maisie declared it the best birthday ever, despite it not being her birthday. And Caleb realized with sudden clarity that he'd just witnessed something important, something fragile and sacred and desperately needed. They ate the cake. Maisie dominated the conversation, telling Riley about her upcoming dance recital and her favorite cartoon and her theory that cats were actually tiny lions in disguise. Riley listened and laughed and asked questions, and slowly, so slowly, the tension in her shoulders began to ease. But Caleb knew it wasn't gone. Whatever had brought Riley to this cafe on her birthday, alone and breaking, was still there. And he was starting to suspect it was something much bigger than loneliness. An hour passed, then another. The cafe crowd shifted, morning regulars giving way to lunchtime arrivals. Maisie eventually climbed into Caleb's lap and started to doze, her head tucked under his chin, her breath warm against his neck. Riley watched them with an expression Caleb couldn't quite read. You're a good dad, she said quietly. I try. No. Riley shook her head. You are. I can tell. How? Because she feels safe. Riley's voice was soft. She feels safe enough to fall asleep in a crowded cafe. That doesn't happen by accident. Caleb didn't know what to say to that. Riley looked down at her empty coffee cup. Can I tell you why I'm here? Only if you want to. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she started talking. 2 years ago, Riley said, her voice steady but distant. My family used to come here every Saturday morning. Me, my parents, my little sister. It was our tradition. We'd get the same table, over there, by the window, and we'd spend hours just being together, talking, laughing. My sister Emma, she was 8. She loved hot chocolate with extra whipped cream, and she always got it all over her face, just like Maisie. Caleb's throat tightened. It was my favorite part of the week, Riley continued. No matter what else was going on, school, work, whatever, Saturday mornings were sacred. That was our time. She paused, took a breath. And then, one night, there was a gas leak in our apartment building. Caleb felt the blood drain from his face. It was fast, Riley said quietly. They said we probably didn't even wake up, but I did. I don't know why, I woke up and I smelled something wrong, and I ran to Emma's room. I got her out, got us both down the stairs and outside. And then I went back for my parents. Her voice cracked. I almost made it. I was at their door. I was right there. And then the building exploded. Riley, I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. Emma was fine. My parents were gone. And my left leg was... She gestured vaguely. Gone. The cafe noise faded to static in Caleb's ears. Emma went to live with my aunt in Seattle, Riley said. I stayed here, did physical therapy, learned to walk again, got the prosthetic, tried to figure out how to keep existing when everyone I loved most was gone. She looked up at Caleb. Her eyes were dry now, empty. And every year on my birthday I come back here, to this cafe, because it's the last place that felt like home, the The last place where my family was whole and happy and alive. Caleb couldn't speak. But today, Riley whispered, I almost didn't come. Because every year it gets harder. Every year I sit here alone and I remember what it felt like to not be alone. And it hurts. And I don't know how many more times I can do this. Riley, and then you, her voice broke. You said yes. You gave me a seat. Your daughter sang to me. You bought me cake. You made me feel like maybe, just for a minute, I wasn't completely invisible. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Thank you, she said. Thank you for seeing me. Maisie stirred in Caleb's arms, mumbling something unintelligible before settling back into sleep. Caleb looked at Riley, this brave, broken young woman who'd walked into a crowded cafe looking for ghosts and found, instead, two strangers willing to share a table. And he made another decision. Riley, he said carefully, Maisie and I are going to the park after this. Nothing fancy, just the swings and maybe some ice cream if she wakes up enough to demand it. Would you want to come with us? Riley blinked. What? You don't have to, but if you wanted to, you'd be welcome. I couldn't. You could, Caleb said firmly, and you should, because birthdays shouldn't be spent alone. Not if there's another option. Riley stared at him. I'm a stranger, she said. So was I an hour ago. Now, you're the girl who thinks unicorns are real and taught my daughter that sophisticated means fancy and smart. That's practically family in Maisie's book. Riley laughed, a weak, watery sound. I don't want to intrude. You're not intruding. I'm inviting. Why? It was a fair question. Caleb looked down at Maisie, still sleeping peacefully in his arms, and thought about the last 2 years. Thought about the nights he'd sat in the dark after she'd gone to bed, wondering if he was doing any of this right. Thought about the loneliness that came with single parenting, the constant fear that he was somehow failing her just by not being enough all by himself. And he thought about what Riley had said. She feels safe. Because, Caleb said quietly, 2 years ago, my wife left. Walked out one morning and didn't come back. And for months I was so angry and so lost that I could barely function. But then one day a teacher at Maisie's preschool saw me struggling in the parking lot, literally struggling, trying to get Maisie in the car while she had a meltdown. And this woman stopped and helped. Didn't know me. Didn't owe me anything. Just helped. He looked up at Riley. And afterward she told me something I've never forgotten. She said, "You're not alone unless you choose to be. Let people help you." So that's what I'm doing. I'm letting you help us not spend our Saturday alone. And maybe we can help you not spend your birthday alone. Fair trade. Riley's face did that complicated thing again. Okay, she whispered. Yeah? Yeah. I'll come. Maisie chose that exact moment to wake up, yawning and stretching like a cat. Are we going to the park now? She asked sleepily. We are, Caleb said. And Riley's coming with us. Maisie perked up immediately. Really? Riley nodded, smiling despite the tears still drying on her face. Really? Yes. Maisie pumped her fist. This is the best Saturday ever. They gathered their things, Caleb helping Riley with her crutches, Maisie chattering about the swings and the slide, and how she could go so high that it was basically flying. As they headed for the door, Caleb glanced back at the cafe, at the table by the window where Riley's family used to sit. And he thought about how grief works, how it carves out spaces inside you that never quite fill again, but how sometimes, if you're lucky, other things can grow in those spaces. Not replacements, never replacements, but something new, something worth holding on to. They stepped out into the sunlight, and for the first time in 2 years, Riley's birthday didn't feel like a funeral. It felt like a beginning. The park was everything Portland promised on a rare sunny day, green and alive and crowded with people making the most of the weather before it inevitably turned gray again. Children shrieked on the playground equipment, dogs chased frisbees across the open field, and couples sprawled on blankets with books and picnic baskets. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and sunscreen and possibility. Maisie dragged them straight to the swings, her small hand gripping Riley's with the casual certainty of a child who'd already decided they were friends. Riley moved carefully across the uneven ground, her crutches finding purchase on grass still damp from yesterday's rain, but she never once pulled away from Maisie's grip. Caleb walked beside them, close enough to help if Riley needed it, but far enough to give her dignity. He'd learned that balance with his own mother after her hip surgery 3 years ago. The art of being available without hovering, protective without being patronizing. "I want the middle swing," Maisie announced as they approached the swing set. "That one's the best because you can see everything." "The middle one it is," Caleb said, lifting her up and settling her onto the black rubber seat. "Hold on tight." "I always hold on tight, Daddy. I'm not a baby." "My mistake. You're practically a grown-up." "Practically," Maisie agreed seriously. Riley lowered herself onto the bench near the swings, setting her crutches beside her with practiced efficiency. Caleb noticed how she chose the end of the bench, leaving space for others, always thinking about not taking up too much room. It made something in his chest ache. He pushed Maisie gently, her legs pumping to gain momentum. "Higher," she called out. I wanna touch the sky." "The sky's pretty far, kiddo." "Then I'll touch the clouds." "More realistic. I appreciate that." Riley laughed softly, watching them with an expression that was equal parts wistful and warm. The sun caught her face, highlighting the freckles across her nose, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled. She looked younger in the light, less like someone carrying the weight of the world and more like the 23-year-old she actually was. "She's wonderful," Riley said. Caleb glanced over his shoulder. "She's something, that's for sure." "No, I mean it. She's—" Riley paused, searching for words. "She's so open, so trusting, like the world hasn't taught her to be afraid yet." "That's intentional," Caleb said quietly. "After Ava left, I had to make a choice. I could raise Maisie to be cautious and guarded, or I could raise her to believe that most people are fundamentally good, that kindness is worth the risk." "And you chose kindness." "I chose kindness." He gave Maisie another push. "Some days I worry I'm setting her up to get hurt, that she'll trust the wrong person or get taken advantage of, but she'll also get moments like today," Riley interrupted, "where she sees someone who needs help and doesn't hesitate, where she makes someone's worst day a little less unbearable just by being herself." Caleb turned to look at Riley properly. "She gets that from you," Riley said. "The way you saw me struggling and you didn't look away. Most people looked away." "Most people are scared," Caleb said. "Not of you. Of the discomfort, of not knowing what to say or how to help. So they pretend they don't see the problem and tell themselves it's not their responsibility." "But you didn't." "No," Caleb agreed. "I didn't." "Why not?" It was the second time she'd asked him why, and Caleb found himself appreciating the question. Most people didn't ask why. They just accepted kindness or declined it and moved on. But Riley wanted to understand the motivation behind it, like she was trying to figure out if it was genuine or if there was some hidden cost she'd have to pay later. "Because 2 years ago," Caleb said, "I was the one struggling, and people kept walking past, and it was the loneliest thing I'd ever experienced, being surrounded by people who wouldn't see me." Riley's expression shifted. "Your wife." "Ex-wife, technically. The divorce finalized 8 months ago, but she was gone long before that." "What happened?" Caleb caught Maisie as she jumped off the swing mid-arc, shrieking with delight. "Careful, daredevil, you're going to break something." "I'm invincible," Maisie declared, already running toward the slide. Caleb sat down on the bench beside Riley, leaving a respectful foot of space between them. "Ava and I met in college. Got married too young, had Maisie too fast. I thought we were happy. Turns out I was the only one who thought that." "She just left?" "She just left." Caleb watched Maisie climb the ladder, her purple leggings bright against the primary colored plastic. Came home one day and her stuff was gone. There was a note on the kitchen counter. Said she couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't be a wife, couldn't be a mother, couldn't keep pretending she was someone she wasn't. Riley was quiet for a moment. "Did she say who she was?" "No, and I didn't ask. By the time I found the note, she was already on a plane to Los Angeles. Her sister called me that night, told me Ava needed space and time, and I should respect that. So I did. That must have been horrible." "It was." Caleb rubbed his face. "But the worst part wasn't that she left. It was explaining it to Maisie. telling a 4-year-old that mommy wasn't coming home and she didn't do anything wrong and it wasn't her fault. Watching her cry and not being able to fix it. How did she handle it? Better than I did, honestly. Kids are resilient. She asked about Ava for a few months, then gradually stopped. Now she barely remembers what it was like when Ava lived with us. He paused. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's survival, Riley said softly. We forget what hurts too much to remember. Something in her tone made Caleb glance over. Riley was watching Maisie go down the slide, but her eyes were distant, seeing something else entirely. You did that, Caleb said, after the fire. I tried to. Riley's voice was barely audible. But some things you can't forget. Some things burn themselves into you. Like what? Riley was quiet for so long Caleb thought she wouldn't answer. Then she said, like the sound Emma made when I pulled her out of bed. She was so confused, didn't understand why I was crying, why I was dragging her down the stairs. She kept saying, I want mommy, and I kept saying, we'll come back for mommy, and I was lying. Her voice cracked. I was lying because I knew, I could feel it, even then, that we weren't coming back. That by the time I got Emma outside and turned around, it would already be too late. Riley, I made a choice, Riley continued, her words tumbling out now like she couldn't stop them. I chose Emma. I got her out first because she was 8 and I was 21, and if someone had to make it, it should be her. And I thought I'd have time. I thought I could save them all. You did save someone, Caleb said firmly. You saved Emma. But I lost my parents. I lost my leg. I lost... Riley's hands twisted together in her lap. I lost everything that made me who I was, the girl who played soccer and wanted to be a physical therapist and had this whole future mapped out. That girl died in that fire. No, Caleb said. She didn't die. She changed. That's different. Is it? Yes. He turned to face her fully. Riley, you survived something unsurvivable. You pulled your sister from a burning building. You endured surgeries and physical therapy and learning to walk all over again. And then, after all of that, you still showed up at that cafe today. You still tried. That's not dying. That's the opposite of dying. Riley's eyes were bright with tears. It doesn't feel like the opposite. I know, but feeling it and being it aren't the same thing. A child's laughter rang out across the playground. Maisie had made a friend, a little boy about her age with curly hair and a dinosaur t-shirt. They were taking turns on the monkey bars, cheering each other on with the effortless camaraderie of children who'd met 3 minutes ago and would be best friends until one of them went home. Does Maisie see her mom at all? Riley asked. Not yet. Ava sends cards on birthdays and Christmas, calls every few months, but she hasn't visited, says she's not ready. Do you hate her? Caleb considered this. No, I'm angry. I'm hurt. I resent the hell out of what she did to Maisie. But hate? No. Ava's got her own stuff to work through. I just wish she'd done it before she became a mother. Do you think she'll come back? Honestly, I don't know. Part of me hopes she does for Maisie's sake. Part of me hopes she doesn't, because the longer she's gone, the less Maisie will be hurt when she realizes her mom chose not to be here. That's a horrible position to be in. Yeah, Caleb agreed. It really is. They sat in silence for a while, watching Maisie and her new friend attempt increasingly elaborate tricks on the monkey bars. The sun was warm on Caleb's face. Somewhere nearby, someone was playing music, something folksy and gentle that floated across the grass. Can I ask you something? Riley said. Of course. Why architecture? The question surprised him. Why do you want to know? Because you said you design homes for people with more money than sense. And there was this tone in your voice, like it wasn't really what you wanted to be doing. Caleb huffed a laugh. You're perceptive. I pay attention. I used to love it, Caleb admitted. In college, I was obsessed. Every project was this opportunity to create something beautiful and functional and meaningful. I wanted to design affordable housing, community centers, spaces that would actually improve people's lives. What happened? Reality happened. Affordable housing doesn't pay the bills. Community centers aren't sexy enough for portfolio pieces. So I took a job at a firm that specialized in luxury residential, told myself it was temporary, and 10 years later, here I am, designing McMansions for tech bros who want 15 bathrooms and a wine cellar they'll never use. Do you ever think about going back? To the community work? All the time. Caleb leaned back against the bench. But I've got Maisie now. I've got a mortgage and preschool tuition and medical insurance to worry about. The dream doesn't pay for soccer camp. That's not fair. No, Caleb agreed. It's not, but it's life. Riley was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I was going to be a physical therapist. But you said that in the cafe. I was 2 years into my program when the fire happened, had my whole career planned out. I wanted to work with athletes, help people recover from sports injuries, get them back to doing what they loved. She laughed without humor. Ironic, right? I was studying to help people learn to walk again, and then I had to learn to walk again myself. Did you go back? To school? No, I tried. Went to one class about 6 months after I got my prosthetic. Sat in the back, thought I could just blend in. But then the professor started talking about gait analysis and prosthetic fitting, and I had a full panic attack in the middle of the lecture. Jesus. Yeah, so I dropped out. Figured maybe I wasn't meant to do that anymore. That maybe the universe was telling me to find a different path. And did you? Find a different path? Riley shook her head. I found a lot of jobs I hated and quit after a few weeks. Found a lot of therapists who wanted to talk about my trauma. Found a lot of ways to avoid dealing with the fact that I had no idea who I was supposed to be anymore. That sounds exhausting. It is. Riley looked at him. But so is pretending you're happy designing houses you don't believe in. Caleb felt that hit him square in the chest. Touché. I'm not judging. I see it, that's all. The way you talk about your work, the way I talk about my lack of work, we're both stuck. Yeah, Caleb said quietly. I guess we are. Daddy! Maisie came running over, her new friend trailing behind her. This is Oliver. Can he come for ice cream with us? Caleb looked at Oliver, who was covered in wood chips and grinning widely. Does Oliver's parents know where he is? I'm right here, a woman called from a nearby bench, waving. He's fine. We're about to head home anyway. Oh, Maisie's face fell. But we were going to be best friends. You can still be best friends, Oliver's mom said, gathering their things. You just have to be best friends who live in different houses. That's basically the definition of best friends, Caleb offered. Maisie perked up. Can we trade phone numbers? You don't have a phone, kiddo. You have a phone. You can trade with Oliver's mom. Caleb met the other mother's eyes. She shrugged with the universal expression of parents who'd been through this dance before. Sure, Caleb said. We can trade numbers. 5 minutes later, they had Oliver's mom's contact information. Maisie and Oliver had exchanged elaborate handshakes that apparently meant they were officially best friends forever. And Caleb was wondering how his Saturday had gone from quiet coffee to managing his daughter's social calendar. Ice cream time? Maisie asked, hopefully. Ice cream time, Caleb confirmed. Riley stood, reaching for her crutches. Caleb noticed how she moved, efficient and practiced, but with a slight hesitation that suggested she was tired. They'd been out for over 2 hours. Her leg was probably hurting, even if she wouldn't say it. There's a good place 2 blocks from here, Caleb said. But if you're tired, we can get it to go and find somewhere to sit closer. Riley shot him a grateful look. To go sounds good. They walked slowly through the park, Maisie skipping ahead and then circling back like an excited puppy. The ice cream shop was exactly where Caleb remembered, a little corner place with a hand-painted sign and a line out the door. This might take a while, Tin, Caleb said, eyeing the crowd. That's okay, Riley said. I'm in no hurry. They got in line. Maisie pressed her face against the window, studying the flavors with the intense concentration of someone making a life-or-death decision. Riley smiled, watching her. She reminds me of Emma, Riley said softly. The way she commits fully to everything. Emma was like that. She'd spend 20 minutes picking out a library book because she wanted to make sure it was exactly right. Does Emma still do that? I don't know. Riley's voice went quiet. We don't talk much anymore. Caleb frowned. Why not? Because my aunt, my mom's sister, she blamed me for the fire. Said if I'd just gotten everyone out at once instead of going back, maybe my parents would have survived. That's not, I know it's not fair, I know it's not rational, but grief isn't rational. Riley adjusted her grip on her crutches. And Emma was 8. She needed someone to take care of her, and my aunt was there, and willing. So Emma went to Seattle, and I stayed here, and every time we talk, it's just this reminder of everything we lost. It's easier not to. That's not easier. That's just different pain. Maybe, but it's pain I can control. They moved forward in line. The sun was starting to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. Caleb thought about what Riley had said, about choosing pain you could control over pain that controlled you. He understood that more than he wanted to admit. For what it's worth, Caleb said, I think you made the right call. In the fire. Getting Emma out first, trying to go back. All of it. Riley's jaw tightened. You don't know that. I do. Because I'm a parent, and if I were in that building, I'd want someone to save Maisie first, every single time, without question. But your daughter is the most important thing in my life. Just like Emma was the most important thing to your parents. Riley, you gave them what every parent wants. You saved their child. That's not something to feel guilty about. That's something to honor. Riley's eyes filled with tears. I miss them so much. I know. Every day, every single day I wake up and for about 3 seconds I forget they're gone. And then I remember and it's like losing them all over again. That's grief, Caleb said gently. It doesn't go away. You just learn to carry it. I don't want to carry it anymore. I'm so tired of being sad. Then maybe it's time to let yourself be something else. Not instead of sad, alongside sad. People are complicated. We can hold multiple things at once. Riley wiped her eyes. Like what? Like happy, like hopeful. Like a person who went to a cafe this morning expecting nothing and ended up spending the afternoon with people who think you're worth knowing. You don't know me. I'm starting to. Caleb met her gaze. And what I know so far, I like. A flush crept up Riley's neck. You're just being nice. I'm being honest. There's a difference. They reached the front of the line. Maisie ordered mint chocolate chip with gummy bears on top, a combination that made Caleb's teeth hurt just thinking about it. Riley got vanilla. Caleb got coffee. They found a bench in the shade and ate their ice cream in comfortable silence. Maisie got more ice cream on her face than in her mouth, as usual. Riley laughed every time Maisie tried to lick her nose to get the drips. Caleb felt something in his chest unclench, something that had been tight for 2 years. This is nice, Riley said quietly. Yeah, Caleb agreed. It really is. Maisie finished her ice cream, declared herself definitely not tired, and immediately fell asleep against Caleb's shoulder. Should we get her home? Riley asked. Caleb checked his watch. It was almost 4. Probably. Nap time is officially past due. They walked back toward the parking lot where Caleb had left his car, an aging Honda Civic that had seen better days but still ran. Riley moved slower now, fatigue clear in the way she held her shoulders. Caleb adjusted his pace to match hers, carrying Maisie against his chest. Thank you for today, Riley said as they reached the car. I mean it. It was exactly what I needed. So come back next Saturday. Riley stopped walking. What? Next Saturday. Same cafe, same time. Come have coffee with us. Caleb, I can't just... Why not? He shifted Maisie to his other shoulder, unlocking the car door. We're there every week anyway. Maisie would love to see you, and honestly, I would too. Riley looked torn. You don't have to do this. I know I don't have to. I want to. There's a difference. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Caleb settled Maisie into her car seat, buckling her in carefully. She didn't even stir. Look, Riley, I'm not trying to fix you or save you or whatever. I think maybe we could be friends. And friends have coffee on Saturdays. That's a normal thing that normal people do. I'm not normal people. Neither am I, so we're perfect for each other. Riley huffed a laugh. You're persistent. I'm a single dad raising a 6-year-old. Persistence is literally my only skill. That's not true. Name another one. You're kind, Riley said. You're patient. You see people. Caleb felt his throat tighten. Then see me back. See me and Maisie next Saturday. Let us be part of your tradition instead of your grief. Riley looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. Okay. Yeah? Yeah, next Saturday, same time. Same table if we can get it. Same table, Riley agreed. Caleb grinned. Good. That's really good. They stood there in the parking lot, the sun setting behind them, and Caleb thought about how quickly life could change. How you could wake up planning a normal Saturday with your kid and end up meeting someone who made you remember what it felt like to hope. I should go, Riley said. Let you get her home. Do you need a ride? No, I'm close. I can walk. You sure? I'm sure. Riley smiled. Thank you, Caleb, for everything. Thank you for saying yes. To the table, to the park, to next Saturday. Thank you for asking. They stood there awkwardly for a moment, neither quite sure how to end the conversation. Finally, Riley laughed and shook her head. This is weird, right? We're both being weird. Extremely weird, Caleb agreed. But in a good way. In a good way, Riley echoed. She turned to go, adjusting her crutches. Then she paused and looked back. Caleb? Yeah? Happy birthday to me, right? Caleb smiled. Happy birthday, Riley. I'm really glad you walked into that cafe today. Me too. He watched her walk away, her figure growing smaller as she headed down the sidewalk. And even though they'd only known each other for a few hours, even though he knew almost nothing about her beyond the tragedy that had shaped her, Caleb felt certain of one thing. This was just the beginning. Riley showed up the following Saturday wearing jeans and a green flannel shirt that brought out the gold flecks in her hazel eyes. She arrived 10 minutes early, which Caleb only knew because he'd been checking his watch every 3 minutes since 9:30 like a teenager waiting for a first date. Maisie spotted her through the cafe window and practically launched herself across the room, weaving between tables with the reckless confidence of someone who believed the entire world would get out of her way. Riley, you came! Daddy said you would, but I wasn't completely sure, because sometimes grown-ups say they'll do things, and then they don't, but you did, and I'm so happy. Riley caught Maisie in a hug, laughing as she steadied herself on her crutches. Of course I came. I promised, didn't I? Yes, but promises are tricky. Maisie pulled back, suddenly serious. My mom promised she'd come to my dance recital last year, and she didn't. So now I know that sometimes promises are just words that people say when they don't want to make you sad right now. The smile slipped from Riley's face. She glanced at Caleb, who'd come up behind Maisie, and something passed between them, a shared understanding of how children absorbed pain and turned it into philosophy. You're right, Riley said, crouching down to Maisie's level. Promises are tricky. But I'm going to tell you something important. When I make a promise, I keep it. Even when it's hard. Even when I don't feel like it. Because my parents taught me that your word is the most valuable thing you own. And once you break it, people stop believing you. Maisie studied Riley's face with the intense scrutiny of a Supreme Court justice. Okay, I believe you. Good. Now what are we having for breakfast? Chocolate croissants. It's our tradition now. They claimed the same corner table, their table. Caleb was already starting to think of it, and fell into an easy rhythm. Maisie dominated the conversation, telling Riley about her week in exhaustive detail. Her best friend Emma had gotten a new puppy. Her teacher had let her be line leader on Wednesday. She'd learned to spell encyclopedia and was extremely proud of this accomplishment. Riley listened with genuine attention, asking follow-up questions and laughing in all the right places. Caleb found himself watching her more than was probably appropriate, noticing the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking, how her whole face transformed when she smiled, the careful way she positioned her prosthetic leg under the table where Maisie wouldn't accidentally bump it. Daddy's staring, Maisie announced suddenly. Caleb nearly choked on his coffee. I am not. You are. You have your thinking face on. I was thinking about work. Liar, Maisie grinned at Riley. He does this sometimes. He zones out and stares at stuff, and then pretends he was thinking about important things, but really he was probably just thinking about what to have for dinner. I was not thinking about dinner. So you admit you were staring. Riley was trying very hard not to laugh.
Your daughter's going to be a lawyer. A lawyer or a detective or possibly an evil genius, Caleb muttered. The jury's still out. I'm going to be a veterinarian, Maisie corrected, because animals are better than people and also they're fluffy. Solid reasoning, Riley said. They finished breakfast and Maisie immediately asked if they could go to the park again. Caleb started to say maybe, started to give Riley an out if she needed one, but Riley spoke first. Absolutely, but only if I get to challenge you to a swing competition. Maisie's eyes went wide. What kind of competition? Who can swing the highest without getting scared? I never get scared. Then you'll definitely win, Riley said, deadpan. Maisie scrambled out of her chair, already heading for the door. Caleb caught her by the back of her shirt before she could escape into traffic. Slow down, speed demon. The swings will still be there in 5 minutes. But what if they're not? What if someone takes them? Then we'll wait our turn like civilized humans. Civilized is boring. Civilized keeps you alive. Riley stood, gathering her crutches. She's got a point, though. Boring is overrated. Caleb shot her a look. Don't encourage her. Too late. I'm officially on Team Maisie. There's a Team Maisie? There is now, Riley said. And we outnumber you. They walked to the park through streets dappled with morning light. Portland was showing off. 70 degrees, clear skies, the kind of day that made people fall in love with the Pacific Northwest and conveniently forget about the 9 months of rain that came with it. Maisie walked between them, holding both their hands, swinging her arms like she was conducting an invisible orchestra. This is my favorite thing, she announced. Swinging your arms? Caleb asked. No, being with my favorite people. Riley's step faltered slightly. Caleb felt her hand tense in Maisie's grip. He caught her eye over Maisie's head and saw something vulnerable flash across her face before she carefully smoothed it away. We're your favorite people? Riley asked, her voice deliberately light. Well, you're tied with Emma and Grandma and Mr. Whiskers. Who's Mr. Whiskers? My stuffed cat. He's very wise. I'm honored to be in such distinguished company. At the park, Maisie dragged them directly to the swings and climbed on with the determination of someone about to make history. Riley settled onto the swing beside her, hooking her crutches over the metal frame. Ready? Riley asked. Born ready. On 3, 1, 2, 3. They both started pumping their legs, building momentum. Maisie's form was wild and enthusiastic, all flailing limbs and determination. Riley's was efficient and controlled, her core engaged, her timing perfect. Within 30 seconds, she was swinging twice as high as Maisie, her hair streaming behind her, her laugh bright and unguarded. Caleb stood watching them, his hands in his pockets, and felt something shift in his chest, something that felt dangerous and wonderful and utterly terrifying. He'd dated exactly twice since Ava left. Once with a woman from his gym who'd been nice enough but talked exclusively about CrossFit. Once with a teacher at Maisie's school who'd spent the entire dinner asking him pointed questions about his emotional availability and whether he'd done the work to heal from his divorce. Both times he'd come home feeling exhausted and vaguely guilty, like he'd failed some test he hadn't known he was taking. But this didn't feel like that. This felt like watching two people he cared about discover they liked each other, which was ridiculous because he'd only known Riley for a week, and caring about someone after a week was the kind of thing that happened in romance novels, not real life. Except apparently it was happening in his real life. Daddy, push me! Maisie called out. Riley's winning! I'm not pushing you, that's cheating. It's strategic assistance. It's still cheating. Riley slowed her swing gradually, letting momentum bleed away until she was drifting gently back and forth. Okay, I'm calling it. Maisie wins. I do? Maisie stopped pumping immediately. But you went way higher. True, but you had better form and showed superior fearlessness. That counts for more. Maisie beamed. Really? Really? Plus I'm getting dizzy and I need it to be your victory so I can stop with dignity. Okay, I won. Daddy, did you see? I won the swing competition. I saw. You were magnificent. Maisie jumped off mid-swing, landed in a crouch, and took off running toward the slide. Caleb moved to stand behind Riley's swing, slowing it gently with his hands on the chains.
You didn't have to let her win, he said quietly. I didn't let her win. She genuinely had better form. You're a terrible liar. Fine. I let her win, but only because she deserved to. She's going to tell everyone at school that she beat a grown-up in a swing competition. Her ego is going to be insufferable. Good. Kids should have insufferable egos. The world will knock it out of them soon enough. Riley twisted slightly to look up at him. Besides, when's the last time she got to win something? Really win. Not just get a participation trophy? Caleb thought about this. Dance recital last spring. She got a ribbon for best costume. Something athletic. She's 6. So, 6-year-olds can be athletic. I was playing soccer at 6. The past tense hung between them. Riley seemed to realize what she'd said and looked away quickly, but not before Caleb saw the flash of pain in her eyes. You could still play, he said carefully. They make prosthetics for athletes now. I've seen videos of people running marathons, playing basketball. I know. Riley's voice was flat. My physical therapist showed me all the inspirational videos. Look at this amputee doing CrossFit. Look at this veteran climbing mountains. Look at all these people who didn't let losing a limb stop them from living their best life. Riley, and they're amazing. They really are. But I'm not them. I'm just trying to get through the day without falling apart. I don't have energy left over for being inspirational. Caleb moved around to sit on the swing beside her. Nobody's asking you to be inspirational. Everybody's asking me to be inspirational. That's all anyone wants from disabled people. They want us to make them feel better about their own problems. They want to look at us and think, well, at least I'm not that bad off. Or, wow, if they can do it, I have no excuse. Nobody just wants us to be regular people having a regular bad day. I do. Riley looked at him. What? I want you to be a regular person having a regular bad day, or a regular good day, or a regular medium day. I don't need you to be inspirational. I just need you to be honest. I don't know how to do that anymore. Be honest. I spent so long telling everyone I was fine, telling my aunt I didn't blame her for blaming me, telling Emma's therapist that yes, I understood she needed space, telling my physical therapist that I was coping well. I don't even know what the truth is anymore. Want to practice? Practice what? Being honest. Right here. Right now. No judgment. Just truth. Riley was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. I'm angry all the time. At my parents for dying. At myself for not saving them. At Emma for leaving. At my aunt for making her leave. At everyone who looks at me and sees my leg before they see my face. At the universe for taking everything I loved and leaving me with this half-life where I'm just going through the motions pretending any of it matters. Caleb felt his throat tighten. Okay, that's honest. Your turn. What? You said no judgment, so you have to be honest too. Caleb took a breath. I'm terrified I'm screwing up Maisie. Every single day I worry that I'm not enough, that she needs a mother and I can't be that for her no matter how hard I try. I'm scared she's going to grow up and realize I failed her, that I chose wrong, that I should have fought harder to make Ava stay or been better so she wouldn't have wanted to leave in the first place. Caleb, I'm not done. The words came faster now, like a dam breaking. I'm lonely. I'm so goddamn lonely I sometimes talk to myself just to hear another adult voice. I haven't had a meaningful conversation with another grown-up in months before meeting you. I go to work and smile and act like I have my life together, and then I come home and watch kids' movies with Maisie and fall asleep on the couch before 9 because I'm too exhausted to do anything else. Riley was staring at him. And the worst part? Caleb's voice cracked. The worst part is I'm not even unhappy. I love my life with Maisie. I love being her dad. But I'm starting to forget what it feels like to be anything else. To be Caleb instead of just Daddy. They sat in silence. Around them, the park continued its Saturday morning chaos, children shrieking, parents chatting, dogs barking. But in their small corner by the swings, everything felt still. Thank you, Riley said finally. For what? For being honest. For not pretending you have it all figured out. I definitely don't have it figured out. Nobody does. They just pretend better. Maisie came running back, face flushed and happy. Can we get ice cream again? We just had breakfast, Caleb said, but ice cream is important for celebrating. Celebrating what? Me winning the swing competition, Riley laughed. That's actually sound logic. Don't encourage her, Caleb said, but he was already standing up. Fine, 1 scoop each, small scoops. Large scoops, Maisie countered. Medium scoops. Large, medium scoops. That's not a thing. It is now. They compromised on regular-sized scoops, which apparently meant large and 6-year-old measurement systems. They sat on the grass eating their ice cream, Maisie wedged between them, telling a complicated story about a girl in her class who claimed to have a pet dragon, but probably actually had a lizard. Although, Maisie said thoughtfully, maybe it really is a dragon, and it just looks like a lizard because it's not fully grown yet. Dragons probably start small. Otherwise, how would they fit in eggs? Excellent point, Riley said seriously. Dragons definitely start small. See, Daddy? Riley understands science. I don't think that's science, Caleb said. It's dragon science, which is the most important kind. After ice cream, they walked, slowly, accounting for Riley's pace, through the neighborhood. Caleb pointed out his favorite coffee shop, the bookstore where he bought Maisie's bedtime stories, the park where they went when the main one was too crowded. Riley listened and asked questions, and somewhere along the way stopped looking like she was waiting for permission to leave. She looked like she belonged. They ended up back at the cafe around noon, tired and sun-warmed and happy. Maisie had finally crashed, asleep against Caleb's shoulder in the exact same position as last week. This is becoming a pattern, Riley observed. She burns hot and fast, always has. Caleb adjusted his grip carefully. I should probably get her home for a proper nap. Yeah, I should probably go too. Neither of them moved. Same time next week? Caleb asked. Actually, Riley hesitated. Would you want to do something during the week? Maybe coffee on Wednesday without the tiny chaperone? Caleb's heart did something complicated. Like a date? Riley's face went red. No, I mean, not like a date, just like friends getting coffee, which is a normal thing that normal people do. I believe I said something similar last week. You did, and it was less awkward when you said it. It wasn't. You're just noticing the awkward more when it's coming from you. Is that a yes, or are you going to keep making fun of me? It's absolutely a yes. Wednesday, coffee. Friends getting coffee like normal people. Okay, good. Riley stood, gathering her crutches. Wednesday, then. Wednesday, Caleb agreed. He watched her walk away again, but this time when she reached the corner, she turned around and waved. It was a small gesture, casual and easy, but it felt monumental, like something had shifted between them, like they'd crossed some invisible line from polite acquaintances to actual friends, or maybe something more than friends. Caleb pushed that thought away as soon as it surfaced. Riley needed friends, not some single dad with baggage projecting his loneliness onto her kindness. They'd known each other for 2 weeks. People didn't fall for each other in 2 weeks. Except his phone was already in his hand, already opening a new message. Thanks for today. Maisie had a great time, so did I. He hit send before he could overthink it. 3 dots appeared immediately. Me too. See you Wednesday? Definitely. 2 p.m.? There's a place near my office. Perfect. It's a date, not a date. A friend meeting, a friend coffee meeting. Caleb grinned at his phone. Noted. It's a friend coffee meeting. Definitely not a date. I hate you. No, you don't. No, I don't. He carried Maisie to the car, buckled her in, and drove home with his daughter snoring softly in the back seat and his phone burning a hole in his pocket because Riley had said it wasn't a date, but maybe, just maybe, she wanted it to be as much as he did. Wednesday arrived with typical Portland weather, gray and drizzling and perfectly miserable. Caleb left work early, told his boss he had a dentist appointment, and met Riley at a small cafe tucked between a vintage clothing store and a comic book shop. She was already there when he arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee and a nervous smile. I got here early and felt weird not ordering, so I guessed, and got you a medium coffee with room for cream. But if that's wrong, I can get something else. Or you can get something else. I'm not trying to control your beverage choices. Riley. Yeah? Breathe. She exhaled shakily. Sorry, I'm being weird. You're being nervous. That's different than weird. Why are you not nervous? Who says I'm not nervous? Caleb sat down across from her, accepting the coffee gratefully. I left work early and lied about having a dentist appointment. I changed my shirt twice. I've checked my phone approximately 40 times in the last hour. Really? Really? Okay, that makes me feel better. Good. They sipped their coffee in silence for a moment. The cafe was quiet, mid-afternoon lull between lunch and dinner rushes. Soft jazz played from speakers mounted in the corners. Rain tapped against the windows. So, Riley said. So, Caleb echoed. This is going well. Incredibly well. We're crushing the friend coffee meeting. Riley laughed, and just like that, the tension broke. They fell into conversation easily, talking about work, about Maisie's upcoming school play, about the book Riley was reading, and the documentary Caleb had watched last night after Maisie went to bed. Small talk, surface stuff, nothing heavy. But then Riley said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "What did Ava's note say? The one she left when she left?" Caleb set down his coffee. "Why do you want to know?" "Because I keep thinking about it. About what kind of person leaves a note instead of having a conversation. What could she possibly have written that would explain that choice?" "Not much." Caleb stared at his hands. It said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. Please don't try to find me. I'll be in touch when I'm ready." That was it. 3 sentences, 4 years of marriage reduced to 3 sentences. Did she ever explain when she finally got in touch? She called about 6 months later, said she'd felt trapped, that she'd gotten pregnant too young and married me because it was expected, and tried to be someone she wasn't for years until she finally broke. She said she loved Maisie, but she couldn't be her mother, that some women aren't meant to be mothers, and she'd finally accepted she was one of them. What did you say? I said she was a coward, that running away doesn't make you enlightened or self-aware. It just makes you someone who runs away. That Maisie deserved better than a mother who chose her own comfort over her daughter's well-being. Did that make you feel better? No. It made me feel worse, because even as I was saying it, I knew she was right. Not about leaving, that was inexcusable, but about not being meant to be a mother. Some people aren't, and forcing them to try just makes everyone miserable. Riley was quiet for a long moment. My mom used to say that love isn't always enough, that you can love someone completely and still not be what they need. Do you believe that? I don't know. I think maybe love is the bare minimum, the starting place. Everything else, commitment, sacrifice, showing up even when it's hard, that's what actually matters. Ava said she loved us, Caleb said quietly. But she didn't show up. So what good was the love? None. The love was useless without the showing up. Yeah. They sat with that truth for a while. Outside, the rain picked up, drumming harder against the windows. Someone at another table laughed too loudly at their phone. The barista called out an order. I've been thinking about going back to school, Riley said suddenly. Caleb looked up, surprised. Yeah? Maybe not physical therapy, but something in healthcare. Maybe nursing or occupational therapy. Something where I can help people without it being so... She gestured vaguely. So triggering. That sounds good. Really good. I'm terrified. Of what? Of trying and failing. Of getting halfway through and having another panic attack and having to quit again. Of people looking at me and thinking I'm only there because of some diversity quota or because the school wants to look good by admitting a disabled student. Okay, first of all, anyone who thinks that is an idiot and their opinion is worthless. Caleb leaned forward. Second, you're allowed to be scared. Fear doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means it matters. When did you get so wise? Single parenting crash course. Terror forces wisdom. Riley smiled. Catchy slogan. You should put that on a t-shirt. I'll add it to my entrepreneurial ventures right after my McMansion empire. Speaking of which, have you thought any more about what you said? About wanting to do different work? Caleb shrugged. Thinking about it and doing something about it are very different things. So take a small step. One project. Something you actually care about. Like what? I don't know. What would you design if money wasn't an issue? Caleb didn't even have to think about it. Community center. Something for families who can't afford expensive memberships. Play space for kids, meeting rooms for parents, maybe a commercial kitchen where people could take cooking classes. A place that brings people together instead of keeping them separate. Riley's eyes lit up. That's beautiful. That's expensive and time-consuming and probably impossible. Or it's a place to start. Caleb, you just described your dream project in 30 seconds. You've obviously thought about this before. Thinking isn't doing. No, but it's step 1. Step 2 is sketching it. Step 3 is researching funding. Step 4 is, okay, I get it. Small steps. Small steps, Riley agreed. That's all any of us can do. They talked for 2 more hours. The cafe filled and emptied around them. The rain stopped and started again. Caleb's phone buzzed with messages from Maisie's after-school program, but nothing urgent. Riley told him about the apartment she lived in, a studio in a building that had been renovated after another building's residents needed emergency housing, irony not lost on her. Caleb told her about the house he rented in a quiet neighborhood with good schools and a yard where Maisie could play. It was easy, comfortable, like they'd been having coffee together for years instead of weeks. When they finally stood to leave, the sun was starting its early winter descent. Caleb walked Riley to her bus stop, waiting with her even though his car was parked in the opposite direction. Thanks for meeting me, Riley said. I know it's weird, basically forcing friendship on you. You're not forcing anything. I'm here because I want to be. Still, you have Maisie and work and a whole life. You don't need some damaged girl inserting herself into it. Hey. Caleb waited until she looked at him. You're not inserting yourself. You're not damaged. You're a person who survived something terrible and is trying to figure out what comes next. And yeah, you've got scars, physical and otherwise, but that doesn't make you broken. Riley's eyes went shiny. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you came back to a cafe full of ghosts on your birthday because you weren't ready to let go yet. I know you let Maisie win a swing competition because you understood what she needed. I know you're funny and smart and brave even when you don't feel brave. Caleb, I know you're my friend and Maisie's friend. And that makes you family by default because Maisie doesn't do anything halfway. Neither do you, apparently. Nope. We're all or nothing people. Comes with the territory. The bus pulled up, its brakes hissing. Riley adjusted her crutches, preparing to board. Same time next week? Caleb asked. Saturday coffee? And Wednesday friend meetings? Those two. Riley smiled. Okay. Same time next week. She boarded the bus, found a seat by the window, and waved as it pulled away. Caleb stood on the sidewalk watching until the bus disappeared around the corner, and then he stood there a little longer trying to figure out what exactly was happening to him. He was falling for Riley Knox. No, that wasn't quite right. He'd already fallen. The question now was what the hell he was supposed to do about it. The weeks folded into months with the gentle inevitability of seasons changing. Saturday mornings at the cafe became sacred. Caleb and Maisie arriving first, claiming their corner table. Riley walking through the door at exactly 10 o'clock with a smile that made Caleb's chest do complicated things. Wednesday afternoons became their escape. 2 hours carved out of the middle of the week where they could be adults instead of the roles they played for everyone else. Riley enrolled in community college classes. Caleb started sketching his community center in a notebook he kept hidden in his desk drawer. Maisie declared Riley her third best friend after Emma and Mr. Whiskers, which Riley pretended to be offended by but was actually deeply honored. It was good. It was easy. It was the kind of friendship that felt like it had always existed, and Caleb was absolutely lying to himself about what he really wanted. He realized it the night of Maisie's school play. Riley had come, not because Caleb asked, but because Maisie had made her a hand-drawn invitation, complete with glitter and specific instructions to sit next to Daddy. The play was a disaster in the way all elementary school plays are disasters. Forgotten lines, backwards costumes, one kid who spent the entire performance waving at his parents in the audience. Maisie played a tree and took her role with deadly seriousness, standing perfectly still while chaos erupted around her. Afterward, Riley had hugged Maisie and told her she was the best tree she'd ever seen. Maisie had beamed and asked if Riley wanted to come for pizza. Riley had looked at Caleb with a question in her eyes, and Caleb had said, of course, like it was the most natural thing in the world. They'd gone to Maisie's favorite pizza place, a hole in the wall with checkered tablecloths and crayons for the kids. Maisie had drawn an elaborate picture of herself as a tree, with Riley and Caleb standing on either side like proud parents. Riley had gone very quiet. Caleb had felt his heart stop and restart in a different rhythm. On the way home, Maisie had fallen asleep in the back seat, clutching her drawing. Riley sat in the passenger seat, her crutches stowed in the back, her hands folded in her lap. "She's wonderful," Riley said softly. "She is," Caleb agreed. "You're doing a really good job. With her, she's happy and confident and kind. That doesn't happen by accident. I'm terrified every single day that I'm screwing it up." "You're not." "How do you know?" Riley turned to look at him, her face illuminated by passing streetlights. "Because she feels safe enough to be exactly who she is. That only happens when kids know they're loved unconditionally." Caleb's throat tightened. "Thank you for coming tonight. I wouldn't have missed it. I mean it. It meant a lot to both of us." "Caleb?" Riley's voice was careful. "What are we doing?" His hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we see each other twice a week minimum. You text me random things throughout the day. I have Maisie's school schedule memorized. She paused, searching for words. "We're acting like we're together without actually being together. Would that be so bad? Being together?" The question hung in the air between them. "I don't know," Riley said finally. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of this being temporary. Of getting attached and then losing it. Of hurting Maisie if it doesn't work out. Of not being enough for you." "Riley, I'm serious, Caleb. You've got your life figured out. You've got this amazing kid and a career and a home. I'm still trying to remember to take my meds consistently. I'm still having nightmares about the fire. I'm still figuring out how to exist as this person I've become instead of the person I used to be." "I don't have anything figured out," Caleb said quietly. "I'm just better at pretending I do." "That's not true." "It absolutely is. Riley, I'm a single dad who hasn't dated seriously in 2 years because I'm terrified of introducing someone into Maisie's life and then having them leave. I'm doing a job I hate because I'm too scared to risk the stability. I eat frozen pizza 3 nights a week because I'm too exhausted to cook. My life isn't figured out. It's functional. There's a difference. But you're stable. You're secure. I'm still broken." "You're not broken." Caleb pulled the car into his driveway, put it in park, and turned to face her fully. "You're healing. That's different. Healing is messy and non-linear, and sometimes it looks like going backward. But it's not broken." Riley's eyes filled with tears. "What if I can't be what you need? What if you already are?" She stared at him. In the back seat, Maisie snored softly. "I'm falling for you," Caleb said, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. "I've been falling for you since that first Saturday. Maybe before that. Maybe the second you walked up to our table and asked if you could sit down. And I know it's fast, and I know it's complicated, and I know you're scared, but I'm scared too. And I'd rather be scared together than safe and alone." "Caleb, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know because I'm tired of pretending this is just friendship when every time I see you, I want..." He stopped, took a breath. "I want everything. I want Saturday mornings and Wednesday afternoons and every day in between. I want to hear about your classes and your bad days and your good days. I want Maisie to keep drawing pictures of the 3 of us. I want to stop lying to myself about what this is." Riley was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "I want that too." "Yeah? Yeah, I've wanted it for weeks. I didn't think I was allowed to want it. Didn't think I deserved it after everything." "You deserve it. You deserve all of it." "What if I'm not ready?" "Then we'll go slow as you need." "What if I mess it up?" "Then we'll figure it out together." Riley laughed through her tears. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. Not easy, but simple. I care about you. You care about me.
We want to see where this goes. Everything else is just details. Just details, Riley echoed. Caleb reached across the console, offering his hand. Riley took it, her fingers threading through his. I'm still terrified, she whispered. Me too. Okay, then let's be terrified together. They sat in the driveway for another 10 minutes, holding hands, not talking, just existing in the space they'd created. When Maisie finally stirred and asked sleepily if they were home, Caleb carried her inside while Riley followed, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. The next Saturday, Riley showed up to the cafe with a nervous smile and a question. Can we tell Maisie? Caleb looked up from his coffee. Tell her what? That we're trying this. Being together. I don't want to lie to her. We don't have to tell her right away. We can wait until we're sure. I am sure. Riley's voice was steady. I'm terrified, and I'm sure. Both things can be true. Caleb felt something warm bloom in his chest. Okay, let's tell her. When Maisie arrived, she'd been at a sleepover and was being dropped off directly at the cafe. They sat her down with her chocolate croissant, and Caleb took a breath. Hey, kiddo. Riley and I want to talk to you about something. Maisie looked between them, suddenly serious. Are you in trouble? No, nothing like that. It's good news. At least we think it's good news. Is Riley staying forever? Riley's eyes went wide. How did you... I'm 6, not stupid. Maisie took a bite of croissant, completely unbothered. You look at each other the way Prince Charming looks at Cinderella in my movie, and Daddy smiles more now, and you come to all my stuff, so obviously you're staying. Caleb laughed despite himself. Okay then, yes. Riley and I are going to try being more than friends. Is that okay with you? Maisie considered this with the gravity of someone deciding world peace. Will you still play with me? Always, Riley said immediately. Will you come to my stuff? Every single thing you'll let me come to. Will you make Daddy less sad? Riley's breath caught. I'll try my best. Okay then. You can stay. Maisie went back to her croissant like the matter was settled. Can I tell Emma? She's going to be so excited. You can tell Emma, Caleb said. Yes! Maisie pumped her fist. This is the best Saturday ever. Well, second best. The first best was when you came the first time, but this is definitely second. I'm honored, Riley said, her voice thick with emotion. You should be. I don't give out rankings lightly. They spent the rest of the morning exactly like they always did. Café, park, ice cream. But something had shifted. Caleb held Riley's hand as they walked. Riley kissed his cheek when Maisie wasn't looking. Maisie watched them with the satisfied expression of someone who'd been proved right and was being very gracious about it. It felt like coming home. The weeks that followed were a study in cautious joy. Riley met Caleb's mother over video call and charmed her completely within 5 minutes. Caleb helped Riley move to a better apartment, one with actual bedroom and windows that didn't stick. They went on actual dates when Caleb could find a babysitter, sitting across from each other in dim restaurants and talking about everything and nothing. They kissed goodnight on Riley's doorstep like teenagers, nervous and eager and gentle. Riley had nightmares sometimes, woke up gasping, convinced she smelled smoke. Caleb talked her through them over the phone at 2 a.m, his voice steady and calm until her breathing evened out. Caleb had bad days where Maisie's questions about her mom cut deeper than usual. Riley showed up with takeout and zero judgment, letting him be sad without trying to fix it. They were building something real. And then Ava called. It was a Tuesday evening. Maisie was at Emma's house for a play date. Caleb was making dinner, actual dinner, not frozen pizza, when his phone rang with a number he'd deleted but still recognized. Hello? Caleb, it's me. His hand tightened around the phone. Ava. Hi. I know this is unexpected. I was going to call on Maisie's birthday, but I chickened out. And then Christmas, but same thing, so I'm calling now before I lose my nerve again. What do you want? His voice came out harsher than he intended. I want to talk. About Maisie. About everything. I'm back in Portland. Moved back 3 weeks ago. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you. Caleb felt the floor tilt beneath him. You're in Portland.
Yeah, I got a job at a gallery downtown, rented an apartment in Hawthorne. I'm I'm trying to get my life together, Caleb, for real this time. And I want to see Maisie, if that's okay with you. If that's okay with me? Caleb set down the knife he'd been using to chop vegetables, afraid he might hurt himself. Ava, you've been gone for 2 years. You missed her 5th birthday, her 6th birthday, her first day of kindergarten, her dance recital, her school play. You've sent exactly 4 cards and called maybe 10 times. And now you're back and you want to see her like nothing happened? I know I messed up. You didn't mess up. You abandoned her. There's a difference. Silence on the other end. Then quietly, you're right, I did. And I'm not going to pretend I can fix that or make up for it. But I'm here now and I want to try. Not to be her mom again. I don't know if I can be that. But to be present, to show up, to let her know I'm sorry. Why now? What changed? I did. I spent 2 years in therapy figuring out why I ran, working through my own stuff. And I realized I was so focused on what I couldn't be that I never considered what I could be. I can't be the mom who does bedtime stories and packed lunches and PTA meetings, but maybe I can be the mom who takes her to art museums and teaches her about color theory and shows up for the big moments. Maybe isn't good enough, Ava. I know, but it's all I have right now. Caleb closed his eyes. I need to think about this. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere this time, I promise. Your promises don't mean much to me anymore. I know, but maybe I can earn that back. Maybe not with you, but with Maisie. They ended the call with Caleb promising to think about it and Ava promising to wait for his decision. Then Caleb sat on his kitchen floor and tried to breathe through the panic rising in his chest. Riley found him there 20 minutes later. She had a key now, had let herself in when he didn't answer her knock. Caleb? What happened? He looked up at her. Ava's back. Riley's face went carefully neutral. Back? Like in Portland back? In Portland back. She wants to see Maisie, be part of her life. She says she's changed. What did you say? That I needed to think about it. Riley sat down beside him on the kitchen floor. What do you want to do? I want to tell her no. I want to protect Maisie from getting hurt again. I want to keep our life exactly the way it is because it's good and it's stable, and bringing Ava back into it feels like inviting chaos. But Maisie deserves to know her mom, even if her mom is imperfect and flaky and might hurt her. Maisie deserves the chance to decide for herself what kind of relationship she wants with Ava. Riley was quiet for a long moment. What if Ava wants you back? Caleb's head snapped up. What? You said she's back in Portland. She's trying to get her life together. What if part of that life includes trying to rebuild your family? That's not, we're divorced, Riley. That chapter is closed. Is it though? Because she's Maisie's mother. She's always going to be connected to your life in some way. And if she's here and present and trying, that's going to change things. It's not going to change how I feel about you. Are you sure? Yes. Caleb took her hands. Riley, I'm sure. Ava and I are done. We were done long before she left. This is about Maisie, not me and Ava. But Maisie's your whole life, so anything that affects Maisie affects you, affects us. You think I should tell Ava no? I think, Riley took a shaky breath. I think you should do what's best for Maisie. Even if what's best for Maisie is having both her parents in her life. Even if that means I'm the complication that makes things harder. You're not a complication. I'm the girlfriend who's been around for 3 months. Ava is her mother. If Ava wants to try again, really try, at being a mom and maybe at being with you, how can I compete with that? This isn't a competition. Isn't it? Riley's voice cracked. Caleb, I've been the person on the outside before. I've been the one who got left behind when family came calling. My aunt chose Emma over maintaining a relationship with me, and she was right to, because Emma needed her more than I did. That's not the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Maisie needs her mom. If Ava can actually show up and be present, that's huge. That's everything, and I'm not going to be the reason you deny Maisie that chance. Riley, I should go. She stood up, reaching for her crutches. You need space to think about this without worrying about me. I don't want space. I want you here. I know, but I'm giving it to you anyway. Riley kissed his forehead, gentle and sad. Call me when you've decided what you're going to do. I'll support whatever you choose. Riley, wait. But she was already gone, the door clicking shut behind her with terrible finality. Caleb stayed on the kitchen floor until Maisie came home. Then he pulled himself together, plastered on a smile, and asked about her playdate. She chattered happily about the games they'd played and the snacks they'd eaten and how Emma's new puppy had chewed through her shoe. She asked where Riley was. Caleb said Riley had to go home early. Maisie accepted this without question and went to take a bath. That night, after Maisie was asleep, Caleb sat in his daughter's doorway watching her breathe. Her face was peaceful in sleep, one arm thrown over her head, her favorite stuffed animal tucked under her chin. She looked so small, so vulnerable, so deserving of parents who got their act together. He thought about what Ava had said, about being present, about showing up, about being imperfect, but trying. He thought about what Riley had said, about family coming first, about not being a complication. He thought about Maisie's drawing from the school play, the three of them together, happy and whole, and he made a decision. He called Ava back the next morning. You can see Maisie, he said without preamble, but we do this on my terms. Supervised visits at first, consistent communication. You don't get to disappear again. One missed visit, one broken promise, and you're done. Maisie's been hurt enough. I understand. Thank you, Caleb. Really. Thank you for giving me this chance. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for her. I know, and that's exactly why you're a good father. They made arrangements. Saturday afternoon, 2 hours at the park. Caleb would be there the whole time. Ava agreed to everything without argument. Then Caleb called Riley. Hey, she answered on the second ring, her voice carefully neutral. Hey, can we talk? Of course. In person? When? Now? 20 minutes later, Riley was on his doorstep. Maisie was at school. The house was quiet. They sat on the couch and Caleb took her hands. I'm letting Ava see Maisie, he said. This Saturday, supervised visit. We're starting slow. Riley nodded. That's good. That's the right thing to do. I'm not getting back together with Ava. Caleb, I need you to hear me. I'm not getting back together with Ava. Whatever we had died a long time ago. We're going to co-parent, assuming she actually follows through this time. But that's it. That's all it will ever be. You don't know that. Things change. Feelings change. Some feelings don't change. Caleb squeezed her hands. The way I feel about you doesn't change just because my ex-wife decided to show up. If anything, it makes me more certain. Because when everything got complicated and scary, my first instinct was to call you. To want you here. That means something. Riley's eyes filled with tears. What if Maisie wants her parents together? Maisie wants her dad to be happy, and you make me happy. She sees that. She told me yesterday that I smile more when you're around. That's what she cares about. But, no buts. Riley, I love you. The words hung in the air between them, huge and terrifying and completely true. I love you, Caleb repeated. I've probably loved you since that first Saturday, but I was too scared to admit it. And I know it's fast, and I know it's complicated, and I know Ava coming back makes everything messier. But I'm done pretending my feelings are smaller than they are. I'm done hiding what I want. I love you, and I want you in my life. In Maisie's life. Not as a complication or a temporary thing, as family. Riley was crying now, tears streaming down her face. I love you too. Yeah? Yeah. I've loved you since you bought me cake on my birthday, since you invited me to the park, since you made me feel like I was worth showing up for. Caleb pulled her into his arms, holding her tight, while she cried into his shoulder. You are worth showing up for every single day. Promise? I promise. And unlike Ava's promises, mine actually means something. Riley laughed wetly against his chest. That was borderline cocky. But true. But true. They sat like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, letting the fear drain away. Outside, the world continued its chaos. Inside, they built something steady. I'm still scared, Riley whispered. Me too.
What if Ava breaks Maisie's heart? Then we'll be there to help her through it. Together. Together, Riley echoed. Together, Caleb confirmed. Saturday arrived with perfect weather, 70 degrees, clear skies, the kind of day that made everything feel possible. Caleb told Maisie that morning over breakfast, keeping his voice light and casual. Hey kiddo, I've got something to tell you. Maisie looked up from her cereal. Is it bad? No, it's not bad. It's big. Your mom is back in Portland and she wants to see you. If you want to see her. Maisie went very still. Mommy's here? Yeah. She moved back a few weeks ago. She called and asked if she could spend some time with you. Why? Because she misses you and she wants to try being in your life again. Maisie was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then she asked, Is Riley still my friend? The question caught Caleb off guard. Of course Riley's still your friend. Why would that change? Because if Mommy's back, maybe there's no room for Riley. Caleb's heart broke a little. Maisie, there's always room for Riley. Your mom being here doesn't change how I feel about Riley or how you and Riley are friends, okay? Promise? I promise. Okay? Then I want to see Mommy. They met at the park at 2 o'clock. Ava was already there, sitting on a bench near the playground, her leg bouncing nervously. She looked different, older, tired, but somehow more present than Caleb remembered. She stood when she saw them, her hand lifting in an uncertain wave. Maisie stopped walking. It's okay, Caleb said quietly. We'll go together. They approached slowly. Riley had offered to come, but Caleb had said no. This first meeting should just be family. Riley had understood, but he could see the hurt in her eyes even as she smiled and told him it would be fine. Hi, Maisie, Ava said, her voice shaking. You've gotten so big. Maisie stared at her mother. You left. I did. I'm so sorry, baby. I made a really big mistake. Daddy says mistakes are okay if you learn from them. Did you learn? I'm trying to. That's why I'm here. I want to be better. For you. Are you staying? Yes, I'm not going anywhere this time. You said that before. Ava's face crumpled. You're right. I did, and then I broke my promise. I can't take that back. But I can try to do better now. If you'll let me. Maisie looked at Caleb. He nodded, trying to convey with his eyes that the choice was hers. She turned back to Ava. Okay. But you have to meet Riley, because Riley is important, and if you're going to be here, you have to be nice to her. Riley? Daddy's girlfriend. She's really cool, and she lets me win swing competitions even though she's better than me. Ava's eyes flickered to Caleb, something complicated passing across her face. I'd love to meet Riley. They spent 2 hours at the park. It was awkward and tender and painful and hopeful all at once. Maisie warmed up slowly, telling Ava about school and Emma and her teacher. Ava listened with genuine attention, asking questions, laughing at Maisie's jokes. Caleb watched from a slight distance, ready to intervene if needed, but mostly just bearing witness to his daughter navigating the impossible task of letting her mother back in. When it was time to go, Ava hugged Maisie carefully. Thank you for giving me a chance. You're welcome, but don't mess it up. I won't, I promise. Promises are tricky, Maisie said seriously, but I believe you. They said goodbye, made plans for next weekend. Ava left and Caleb and Maisie sat on a bench watching the sunset. You okay? Caleb asked. I think so. It was weird. Good weird or bad weird? Both weird. She's different, quieter, sadder maybe. Yeah, she is. Do you still love her? The question hit Caleb square in the chest. No, kiddo, I don't. Not the way I used to, but I'll always care about her because she's your mom. But you love Riley. Yes, I love Riley. Good, because I love Riley too, and I think she makes us better. Yeah, Caleb said, pulling Maisie close. I think so too. They went home. Riley was waiting on the porch with takeout and a nervous smile. Maisie ran to her and hugged her tight. You're still here. Of course I'm still here. Where else would I be? I don't know, but I'm glad you're here. Me too, kiddo. Me too. That night, after Maisie was asleep, Riley and Caleb sat on the couch in comfortable silence.
His arm was around her shoulders. Her head rested on his chest. The house was quiet and warm and safe. "How did it go?" Riley asked. "Better than I expected." Ava was actually present, engaged. Maisie handled it like a champ. "And how do you feel?" "Relieved, scared, hopeful, all of it at once." "That's a lot of feelings." "Welcome to my life." Caleb kissed the top of her head. "Thank you for being here." "Always," Riley said. And Caleb believed her, because some promises were worth keeping, and some people were worth showing up for, and some families were built one brave choice at a time. The weeks that followed established a new rhythm, fragile at first, like testing weight on ice, but gradually solidifying into something that felt almost sustainable. Ava showed up every Saturday at 2 o'clock, never late, never with excuses. She took Maisie to the art museum and taught her about Impressionism. She brought supplies for painting projects that left Caleb's kitchen table covered in dried acrylics he'd still be finding months later. She was gentle and patient and present in ways that surprised everyone, including herself. But Riley grew quieter. Caleb noticed it first on a Wednesday afternoon in late March. They were at their usual cafe, and Riley had barely touched her coffee, her attention drifting to the window every few minutes like she was searching for something she couldn't name. "Hey," Caleb said gently. "Where'd you go?" Riley blinked and focused on him. "Sorry, I'm here." "Your body's here. Your brain is somewhere else." "Just thinking." About?" Riley was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Ava asked to meet me." Caleb set down his coffee carefully. "When?" "Yesterday. She called me. Said she got my number from Maisie's school emergency contact list, which is kind of creepy now that I say it out loud, and asked if I'd have coffee with her. Just the two of us." "What did you say?" "I said yes. We're meeting tomorrow." "And you're nervous?" "Terrified." Riley's laugh was shaky. "What does the ex-wife want with the girlfriend? Nothing good, right? She's either going to tell me to back off or tell me she wants you back or tell me I'm not good enough for Maisie or—" "Riley, breathe." She took a breath. "Sorry, I'm spiraling." "You're allowed to spiral. But I don't think Ava wants any of those things." "How do you know?" "Because she told me she wanted to meet you. Asked if I thought you'd be open to it. And when I said I didn't know, she said she understood if you weren't comfortable, but she hoped you'd give her a chance. That doesn't sound like someone planning an ambush." "Then what does she want?" Caleb reached across the table, taking Riley's hand. "Probably to do what we're all trying to do. Figure out how to make this work. How to build something good for Maisie out of this incredibly messy situation." "What if she asks if we're serious, you and me?" "Then you tell her the truth." "Which is?" "That I'm in love with you, that you're in love with me, that we're building a life together." Riley's eyes went shiny. "Just like that? Just like that? What if she says Maisie needs her parents together? What if she's been working up to asking for another chance and meeting me is just part of her strategy?" "Then I'll tell her the same thing I've told you. That chapter is closed. We're co-parenting now. That's all." "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple, not easy. Not, but simple." Riley squeezed his hand. "Okay, I'll meet her. But if she tries to make me feel like I'm in the way, I'm leaving." "Fair enough." The next day, Riley texted Caleb at 2:15. "She's 10 minutes late. I'm giving her 5 more minutes and then I'm gone." At 2:18. "She's here. She brought flowers? Is that weird? That's weird, right?" At 2:20. "Okay, she's actually really nice and I hate that I don't hate her." At 3:30. "We're still talking. I'll call you later." Caleb spent the rest of the afternoon distracted, fielding questions from Maisie about why he kept checking his phone and trying to focus on the custom home design that was due Monday. By the time Riley finally called at 6, he'd redrawn the same staircase 4 times and was contemplating driving to the cafe to make sure she was actually okay. "So," Riley said when he answered. "That was unexpected." "Good unexpected or bad unexpected?" "Good, I think. I'm still processing." He heard the sound of a door closing, the familiar creak of Riley's apartment. "Ava's not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Someone polished and put together. Someone who had her life figured out. someone who'd make me feel small and inadequate just by existing. And instead she's just a person who made some really terrible choices and is trying to figure out how to live with them. She cried, Caleb. Actually cried. Told me she was grateful I was in Maisie's life, that she could see how much you and Maisie loved me, and that made her feel less guilty about leaving because at least Maisie had someone. Caleb felt his throat tighten. What did you say? I said I love Maisie too, and you, and that I'm not trying to replace her, I'm just trying to be present. And she said that's all she wants too, to be present without erasing what came before or what exists now. That's good. That's really good, Riley. She also told me she's not trying to get you back. I know. She said she realized in therapy that she confused loneliness with love, that she loved the idea of having a family more than she actually loved being in one, and that what you deserve is someone who actually wants the life you're building, not someone who's just going through the motions. She said that, word for word. Then she said she thinks I'm that person, that she can see it in the way you look at me. Caleb sat down heavily on the couch. How do I look at you? According to Ava, like you've been waiting your whole life for me to show up. That's pretty accurate. Riley's laugh was soft and warm. She asked if we were thinking long term. I said yes. She asked if that meant marriage. I said, she paused. I said we hadn't talked about it, but I hoped so. Caleb's heart was beating so hard he was sure Riley could hear it through the phone. You do? Yeah, I do. Is that crazy? We've only been together for 4 months. I don't think it's crazy. No? No, I think when you know, you know. Caleb Turner, are you saying you want to marry me? I'm saying I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Whether that includes marriage or not is up to you. Riley was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, ask me. What? Ask me properly. Not over the phone, but soon. Ask me. Riley, I'm serious. I don't need a fancy ring or a big production. I just need you to ask me if I'll build a life with you. Officially, permanently, all in. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Caleb felt like his chest might explode. Okay. Okay? Okay. I'll ask you. Soon. Good. They talked for another hour about nothing important. Riley's classes, Maisie's upcoming field trip, the community center design that Caleb had finally worked up the courage to show his boss. When they finally hung up, Caleb sat in the dark living room thinking about rings and proposals and how quickly life could change when you were brave enough to let it. He asked her 3 weeks later, not at a fancy restaurant or on a beach at sunset. He asked her at the cafe where they'd met on a Saturday morning with Maisie sitting between them eating her chocolate croissant and chattering about her upcoming dance recital. Hey Maisie, Caleb said, his heart pounding. Can you do me a favor? Depends on the favor. I need you to go ask the barista if they have any candles. Maisie frowned. Why? Because I'm going to ask Riley to marry us, and I think we should have a candle. Maisie's eyes went wide. Her mouth dropped open. Then she shrieked, an actual shriek that made everyone in the cafe turn and stare, and launched herself at Riley. You're going to be my real family, forever family, not going away family. Riley caught her, laughing and crying at the same time. I'm already your family, kiddo. But now it's official. Now Daddy's asking. He hasn't asked yet, Riley pointed out, her eyes finding Caleb's. Right, candle first. Maisie scrambled down and ran to the counter, nearly knocking over 2 chairs in her excitement. Caleb moved his chair closer to Riley's, took her hands, looked into her hazel eyes that had been sad and guarded that first day and were now bright with joy and love and possibility. I had a whole speech planned, he said. Something about how you walked into this cafe looking for ghosts and found family instead. About how you made Maisie believe in second chances and made me believe in first loves. About how every day with you feels like coming home. That's a pretty good speech. But standing here looking at you, all I can think is that I don't want to spend another day without knowing you're mine. Officially, permanently, all in. Riley's tears spilled over. Those are my words. I'm borrowing them. So Riley knocks. He pulled a small box from his pocket, opened it to reveal a simple silver band with a single stone that caught the morning light. Will you marry me? Will you be Maisie's family and my family and our family? Will you build this life with us?
Yes. Riley's voice broke.
Yes, absolutely yes. Caleb slid the ring onto her finger just as Maisie came running back with the barista in tow, carrying an entire birthday cake with lit candles.
The manager said it's on the house, Maisie announced, because you're getting married and that's basically a birthday for love.
The entire cafe erupted in applause. The same cafe that had sung happy birthday to a broken girl 9 months ago was now celebrating her second chance at everything. People they'd never met were clapping and cheering. Someone started singing. The barista with the blue hair was crying into her apron. Riley laughed through her tears, pulling Caleb in for a kiss while Maisie jumped up and down chanting, "I'm getting a mom! I'm getting a mom!" "You already have a mom," Caleb reminded her gently when they finally broke apart. "I know, but now I have two. And that's even better because more people means more love, and more love is always good."
When did you get so wise? Riley asked, pulling Maisie into their embrace. I was born wise. You guys just didn't notice.
They cut the cake. Maisie insisted on feeding them both bites like they were already at a wedding. The cafe patrons toasted them with their coffee cups. Someone took a photo that Riley would later frame and put on their mantle. It was chaotic and perfect, and nothing like what Caleb had planned, but somehow exactly right. Later, after they'd taken Maisie to the park and celebrated with ice cream and fallen into their routine like it was the most natural thing in the world, Riley asked the question Caleb had been waiting for. What about Ava? They were sitting on a bench watching Maisie play, Riley's new ring catching the afternoon sun. Caleb had his arm around her shoulders, holding her close. What about her? Won't she be upset? About the engagement? I already told her, called her yesterday after I picked up the ring, wanted her to hear it from me instead of from Maisie. What did she say? She said congratulations, and that she's happy for us, and that she'd like to come to the wedding if we're comfortable with that. Riley stiffened slightly. And are you? Comfortable with that? Yeah, I am. She's Maisie's mom. She should be there for the big moments. And honestly, I think she means it this time. About being present, about showing up. It's weird, Riley said quietly. I spent so long being angry at her for leaving you, for leaving Maisie. And now I'm sitting here grateful that she did, because if she hadn't, I wouldn't have you. That's not weird. That's just complicated. People are complicated. Are you scared about getting married again? Caleb thought about this carefully. I'm scared of all the normal things. What if we mess up? What if we hurt each other? What if we're not enough? But I'm more scared of not trying, of letting fear win. I was scared with Ava and I ignored it, and look what happened. But with you, I'm scared and I'm doing it anyway. That feels different. That feels brave. Brave, Riley echoed. I like that. Maisie ran over, breathless and glowing. Can Riley live with us now, since you're getting married? Caleb looked at Riley. What do you think? Ready to deal with us full time? I think I've been ready since the day you said yes to sharing your table.
What?
They set a date for August. Nothing big, just family and close friends. They'd get married at the cafe, at their corner table, with Maisie as the flower girl and Emma as the maid of honor. Simple and intimate and exactly what they both wanted. The months leading up to the wedding were a study in blending families. Ava came to dinner once a month, always bringing something she'd made or found at a gallery. She and Riley developed a tentative friendship built on their mutual love for Maisie and their shared understanding of what it meant to navigate complicated family dynamics. It wasn't perfect. There were awkward moments and difficult conversations and times when old wounds opened up unexpectedly, but they were all trying. That had to count for something. Riley enrolled full-time in her nursing program and discovered she was actually good at it. The panic attacks didn't disappear entirely, but they became manageable. She made friends with her classmates. She started volunteering at a rehab center, working with amputees who were learning to walk again. She found purpose in helping others navigate the same journey she'd taken. Caleb finally showed his boss the community center design. His boss loved it. More than that, his boss knew someone on the city planning commission who was looking for exactly that kind of project. Within 2 months, Caleb had a meeting scheduled. Within 4, he had preliminary approval for funding. The dream he'd kept hidden in a desk drawer was becoming real. Maisie thrived in the chaos. She had her mom for art projects and museum visits. She had Riley for swing competitions and homework help. She had Caleb for bedtime stories and Saturday morning croissants. She had more love than she knew what to do with, and she soaked it up like sunshine. 2 weeks before the wedding, Riley had a nightmare. The worst one in months. She woke up gasping, convinced she smelled smoke, scrambling for her crutches, trying to run somewhere she couldn't name. Caleb found her in Maisie's room, standing over their daughter's bed, tears streaming down her face. "I couldn't save them," she whispered. "I tried so hard, and I couldn't save them." "I know, sweetheart, I know." "What if I can't save her either? What if something happens and I'm not fast enough or strong enough or brave enough? Then we'll be not strong enough together." Caleb guided her gently out of Maisie's room, back to their bedroom, sat her down on the bed. "Riley, you can't control everything. You can't keep everyone safe. You can just do your best and love them fiercely and hope that's enough. What if it's not? Then we'll deal with it when it happens, together. That's what family does." Riley looked at him with eyes full of grief and fear and love. "I'm so scared of losing this, of losing you and Maisie, of having something this good and watching it burn. Life doesn't come with guarantees, believe me. I know that better than anyone. Ava taught me that. But you know what? Being scared didn't stop the good things from happening. It just stopped me from enjoying them while I had them. And I'm done living like that. I'm done letting fear run the show." "How do you just stop being scared?" "You don't. You just get better at being scared and doing it anyway." Riley leaned against him, exhausted and trembling. "I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good. That means it's real. That means it matters. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if something happens, if there's ever a fire or an accident or anything, you'll get Maisie out first. You won't try to be a hero, you'll just save her." "Riley, promise me, Caleb. I need to hear you say it." He understood then what she was really asking. She was asking for permission to forgive herself, for someone to tell her that the choice she'd made, saving Emma first, was the right one, that it was okay to prioritize the child, that she wasn't a failure for not saving everyone. "I promise," he said firmly. "If something happens, Maisie comes first, always." Riley's sob was relief and grief tangled together. She clung to him and cried the kind of tears that needed to come out. Cried for her parents and for Emma and for the girl she used to be before the fire. Cried for all the versions of herself she'd lost and all the versions she was still learning to become. And Caleb held her through it all, steady and sure, until the tears ran dry and the sun started to rise and Riley finally fell asleep in his arms. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather, 75 degrees, clear skies, the kind of day Portland saved for special occasions. They'd kept it small, just 20 people crammed into the cafe that had closed for a private event. Maisie wore a purple dress with sparkles and held a basket of flower petals she was supposed to scatter, but mostly just threw at people. Emma stood beside Riley in a yellow sundress. Ava sat in the second row next to Caleb's mother, both of them crying before the ceremony even started. The officiant was the barista with blue hair who'd served them that very first day. They'd asked her on a whim and she'd said yes immediately, gotten ordained online, and taken her job as seriously as if she'd been doing it for years. "We're gathered here today," she began, her voice steady and warm, "in this cafe where two people met by chance and became family by choice. Where a simple question, 'Can I share this table?' turned into a lifetime commitment." Caleb looked at Riley standing across from him in a simple white dress that made her look like she was glowing from within. Her hair was loose, falling in soft waves past her shoulders. Her hazel eyes were bright with tears and joy. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. "Riley Knox came to this cafe looking for ghosts," the barista continued, "and Caleb Turner came here looking for chocolate croissants. Neither of them knew they were actually looking for each other." Maisie giggled. Someone in the audience laughed softly. But that's how the best love stories start, with people who aren't looking finding exactly what they need. Now, Caleb and Riley have written their own vows because apparently my script wasn't good enough. "Your script was perfect," Riley assured her. "We just wanted to add some things." "Fair enough.
Caleb, you're up. Caleb took Riley's hands, took a breath, and spoke from his heart. Riley, you walked into my life on a day when I thought I had everything figured out. I had my routine, my Saturday mornings with Maisie, my carefully controlled life. And then you asked to share our table and everything changed. You taught me that being scared doesn't mean being broken, that grief and joy can exist in the same space, that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's choosing each other over and over again. You make me want to be braver. You make Maisie believe in second chances. You make our house feel like a home. I promise to always say yes when you need a table, to show up even when it's hard, to love you fiercely and gently and completely for the rest of my life. Riley was crying now, not even trying to hide it. She squeezed his hands and took her turn. Caleb, I came to this cafe expecting nothing. I came here to sit with my grief, to remember what I'd lost, to mark another year of surviving instead of living. And then you saw me, really saw me. Not my leg or my sadness or my brokenness. You just saw a person who needed a seat and you made room. That simple act of kindness saved my life. Not dramatically or suddenly, but slowly and steadily and completely. You showed me that I could be more than my worst day, that I could build something new from the ashes, that I deserved love and family and Saturday mornings. I promise to keep showing up, to be brave even when I'm terrified, to love Maisie like she's mine because she is, and to love you with everything I have for as long as we both shall live. There wasn't a dry eye in the cafe. Ava was sobbing openly into a tissue. Caleb's mother had given up on dignity entirely and was just letting the tears flow. Even Maisie looked teary, though she'd later claim it was allergies. Do you have rings? The barista asked. Maisie stepped forward importantly, presenting the rings on a small pillow she'd insisted on carrying. I've been guarding these with my life. Thank you for your service, Caleb said solemnly, taking both rings. He slid Riley's wedding band onto her finger, just above the engagement ring. She did the same for him, her hand shaking slightly but her voice steady. By the power vested in me by the internet and the state of Oregon, the barista announced, I now pronounce you married. Kiss already so we can eat cake. Caleb pulled Riley close and kissed her like they were the only two people in the world. The cafe erupted in applause and cheers. Maisie threw her remaining flower petals straight up in the air, creating an impromptu confetti moment. Someone popped a bottle of champagne. Music started playing from speakers the manager had set up. They cut the cake, the same lemon cake they'd shared on Riley's birthday. Maisie insisted on feeding them both bites again, giggling when Riley got frosting on her nose. They had their first dance in the cramped space between tables, swaying to a song about coming home. Ava gave a toast that was graceful and generous, thanking Riley for loving her daughter and Caleb for being willing to build something new. Caleb's mother cried through her entire toast and nobody minded. As the sun set and the cafe lights twinkled like stars, Riley pulled Caleb outside for a moment alone. They stood on the sidewalk where they'd parted ways that very first day, her head on his shoulder, his arms around her waist. We did it, she said softly. We really did. I can't believe this is my life now, that I'm married to you, that I'm Maisie's stepmom, that I have a family again. Believe it, this is real. You're real. We're real. Riley turned in his arms to face him. Do you know what I wished for? That first birthday? When you brought me the cake with the candle? What? I wished that I could feel like I belonged somewhere again, that I could find a place where I fit, where people wanted me around not because they felt sorry for me, but because they genuinely loved me. And the universe delivered. It brought me you and Maisie and this weird, beautiful, complicated family. It brought me home. Caleb kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You're home. You've been home since that first Saturday. They stood there holding each other while the celebration continued inside, while Maisie's laughter rang out and Ava's voice mixed with his mother's and their chosen family celebrated their beginning. Portland's lights twinkled around them. The cafe glowed warm and welcoming behind them. And Riley Knox, who'd once walked through a crowded room being turned away at every table, who'd thought she'd lost everything worth having, who'd come to say goodbye to ghosts, stood wrapped in her husband's arms and felt, for the first time since the fire, completely and utterly whole. 2 years later, on a Saturday morning in late May, they walked into the cafe with Maisie between them,
now 8 years old and still ordering chocolate croissants with the same enthusiasm. But this time, Riley carried something extra. Someone extra. A baby boy named Thomas, 3 months old and sleeping peacefully against her chest in a carrier. Our table's taken, Maisie observed, pointing to their corner spot where a young couple sat with their laptops. That's okay, Caleb said. We can sit somewhere else. But it's our table. It was our table, Riley corrected gently. But tables are meant to be shared, remember? Maisie thought about this. Then she marched over to the couple, tapped the girl on the shoulder and said with complete seriousness, "That table saved my family, just so you know. So if you're sitting there, you have to do something good today. It's the rule." The couple stared at her, bewildered. The girl started to smile. "I promise we'll do something good," she said. "Okay then, you can keep it." They found a different table, one by the window where the morning light streamed in. Caleb got their usual order while Riley fed Thomas, and Maisie drew elaborate pictures of their family, now including baby Thomas, a dog they'd adopted named Biscuit, and still featuring Mr. Whiskers prominently because he was, according to Maisie, eternal. Ava was coming by later to take Maisie to a pottery class. She'd been sober for 18 months and consistent for 2 years. She wasn't perfect, nobody was, but she showed up. Every week, without fail, she showed up. And that was enough. More than enough. Riley's sister Emma had visited last month, tentatively rebuilding the relationship they'd lost. It was slow and awkward, and sometimes painful, but they were trying. That had to count for something. Caleb's community center had broken ground in March. Opening date was scheduled for next fall. He'd quit the McMansion firm and started his own practice focusing on affordable housing and community spaces. Money was tighter, but his heart was fuller. Riley had graduated from her nursing program with honors. She was working at a rehab hospital now, specializing in amputation recovery. She helped people learn to walk again, and every single patient she worked with got a piece of her story. She'd learned to turn her grief into purpose, her pain into compassion, her survival into hope for others. "Daddy?" Maisie looked up from her drawing. "Can we come here every Saturday forever?" "That's the plan, kiddo." "Even when I'm grown up?" "Even when you're grown up. This is our place, our tradition." "Good, because I'm never leaving. You're stuck with me forever." Riley laughed, adjusting Thomas in her arms. "That's the best news I've heard all day." They sat in the cafe that had become their beginning, watching Portland wake up around them, and Caleb thought about how quickly everything could change, how one small act of kindness could ripple out in ways you never imagined, how saying yes to a stranger asking for a seat could lead to a marriage, a baby, a family, a life. "Thank you," Riley said quietly, reaching for his hand across the table.
For what? For sharing your table that day, for seeing me when everyone else looked away, for building this life with me. Thank you for asking, for being brave enough to walk into a crowded cafe and keep trying until you found us. Maisie looked up from her drawing, rolled her eyes in the dramatic way of 8-year-olds everywhere, and said, "You guys are so mushy. Can we just eat our croissants?" They laughed and ate their croissants and watched people stream in and out of the cafe, all of them carrying their own stories, their own grief, their own hopes for what might come next. And somewhere in the crowd, maybe there was another person looking for a table, waiting for someone to say yes, about to discover that sometimes the smallest questions lead to the biggest answers. Can I share this table? Yes, always yes, because that's how families begin, with open hearts and shared spaces and the willingness to make room for something beautiful you didn't know you were missing.
And that's how love grows, one brave choice at a time.